Is the Great Reset a conspiracy theory? Well, before we get into it, welcome to my channel. It's a pleasure to have you guys here with me, and let's talk about it. So, the Great Reset's been a hot topic lately. It's been mentioned in a couple of news outlets, it's been mentioned on social media platforms, and people are wondering, what is it? How is it going to affect me? How is it going to affect my family, my way of life, or how I do business? And it's essentially this horrible idea brought to us by this guy named Klaus Schwab. Schwab is the founder of the World Economic Forums, and the World Economic Forums is a nonprofit organization to which they gather people from all over the world, wealthy people, owner of corporations, or people that are high in government, and they come together and they talk about world problems and how they're going to fix those problems. And essentially, the World Economic Forum thinks that capitalism is a horrible system and they need to hit the reset button on capitalism. Capitalism is not good at addressing problems like the pandemic which we're having now, or climate change and other problems. Therefore, we need a global system that could better address these problems. It can address pandemics that we have now or pandemics of the future, climate change, along with many other problems. And they want to move from what we call shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. Before I get into explaining what it is, right now you can either have stakeholder capitalism or shareholder capitalism. However, they want to force everybody to go with stakeholder capitalism. The difference between the two is that in shareholder capitalism, you have the owner of the company and you have people that buy shares in the company. The owner of a company has the incentive in making a good product, a product that people want to buy again and again, and bringing the valuation of his company up. When his company is higher valued, he makes more money, his shareholders make more money, his shareholders have a vested interest in that company because they bought a portion of it with their own money, and therefore as a company grows, makes more money, everybody makes more and everybody's happy. Everybody has a vested interest in the company. The more you own of the company, the more say you have in the company. Now, in stakeholder capitalism, it's completely different. In stakeholder capitalism, it's not only the people that actually invested in your company who have a say in your company. For instance, your employees would have a say in your company. Anybody your company affects would have a say in your company. The customers, the community around you, the people that are even the suppliers of your company, they would also have a say in how you run your business. A couple of months ago, we had a problem with Ford. The employees that work at Ford did not want to continue manufacturing police vehicles or fixing them, and they complained, and the owners of Ford said, no, we're going to continue to do it. However, had it been a stakeholder company, that could have been a bigger problem, to which they would have had to answer to their employees because their employees have stake in the company, therefore they have a say in the company. Another problem that we recently saw was with Target. Target was selling a book by Abigail Shrier. Some people thought that book was offensive and they wanted Target to take it down. Target actually ended up taking the book down. However, other customers complained and Target put the book back up. However, had Target been a stakeholder company, this also could have posed a problem because since the consumers, the customers of that company, have a stake in the company, they also have a say in that company. Even though none of these people have actually invested money in that company, they all have a say in the company. The community, the suppliers, the customers, and a whole bunch of other people that's affected by your company. Now, the problems don't only stop there. Klaus has mentioned that he wants to change the evaluation system to which we measure companies by. He said, one of the big projects which we have in this framework of the Great Reset Initiative is to come up with a more unified measurement system to allow to evaluate companies not only on the basis of short-term financial returns, but how they perform in terms of social, environmental, and good governance criteria. Now, Klaus wants to move from an objective form of measurement to an arbitrary one. Right now, we measure a company based on how profitable they are, based on what they produce, based on how they're going to grow in the future, and we come up with a number to evaluate the company by to see how much it's worth. And Klaus wants to move to that system to an arbitrary form of measurement, which would measure the company based on how it performs socially, how it performs with the environment, and how it performs with how the company is governed. Now, these forms of measurements are arbitrary, and they can essentially demolish a company because arbitrary measurements can change throughout time. For instance, right now, something that is socially acceptable may not be acceptable in the future. We have many instances where things were accepted in the past that are not accepted today. Therefore, a company's evaluation can automatically change based on arbitrary measurement. With all these bad things, we may think, well, is this idea something big? Does it have a lot of traction? Who's involved? The World Economic Forum just had a summit in November where they were planned to have 2,000 people gathered from about 70 different countries. These people tend to be wealthy. Don't quote me on it, but I think the membership to join the World Economic Forums is over $500,000 per year. So think about who the people are that are involved in this, how wealthy they are, and how much of an influence they have. And you also have people who are high in government that also echo the ideas of the Great Reset. For instance, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, mentioned, "This pandemic has proved an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine an economic system that actually addresses global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change." You also had people like Prince Charles echoing these ideas, the CEO of Walmart, and even Joe Biden in one of his speeches mentioned that he wants to move from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. At first glance, these ideas might seem good. For instance, they want to better everybody's well-being. They want to make the world better for everybody, a more fair place. However, the problem is with using these vague words, we don't know what they mean by well-being. We don't know what they mean by fair, what they mean by any of these words. And it's intentionally very vague in order so that they can do whatever they want. Now, is it a conspiracy theory? Is the Great Reset a conspiracy theory? Well, it's not. It's obviously not. But I think there's two aspects to look at this. For example, one in which might be considered a conspiracy theory would be to look at it in the sense that everybody's collaborating with this idea, and all the powerful people are the people that are high in government, all the wealthy people are trying to push this agenda forward. And for instance, you can tie that up with all the lockdowns that are going on and essentially the unscientific lockdowns that are going on and say like, oh wow, they're trying to destroy small businesses, they're trying to destroy capitalism in order to bring about a new system. And I think this would probably lie on the line of conspiracy theory. However, why are they doing these crazy lockdowns? I think maybe a simple explanation could be that these people don't want to be responsible for COVID, and therefore they say, hey, we did all we could. Instead of actually addressing the problem with its difficulties, they just want to lock down and say, hey, we did everything we could, we locked down, we still lost people, however, I did everything, and therefore I'm not responsible for those deaths. I think that's probably why they're locking down. However, you do have prominent people that do not like capitalism and that do want to reset capitalism and go to a new system. Like I said, Joe Biden has mentioned it, and there's even articles that echo Joe Biden's Build Back Better lines in the World Economic Forums. For example, an article titled, "To Build Back Better, We Must Reinvent Capitalism. Here's How." If we don't seize this opportunity to build back better, to reset and reinvent rather than return to normal, systemic risks and vulnerabilities will continue to accumulate, making future shocks both more likely and more dangerous. Despite the tragedy, we must leverage the COVID-19 pandemic and make sure that it becomes the catalyst for a profoundly positive transformation of the global economy, taking us closer to a world in which everyone can live well within planetary boundaries. So as you see, there are these ideas that are going around in people that are high in government, and we even have articles in the World Economic Forums echoing Joe Biden's Build Back Better. However, the idea that all the lockdowns are going on to push this agenda may lie on the lines of conspiracy theory. However, the question is, why are we having these lockdowns? Could it be that these people just don't want to take responsibility? Therefore, they're taking every crazy idea and going forward with it in order to say that, hey, we're not responsible? Or could that be that they're locking down in order to destroy capitalism and say, hey, capitalism doesn't work. You guys see what happened during the pandemic. Therefore, we need to move to a new system that is global and that can address issues like this. Now, in the sense that it's not a conspiracy theory, is that this is a very prominent idea And it's held by people all over the world. One of the most recent ones was even the Pope, who has echoed the ideas of the Great Reset. Therefore, it's not a conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory lines of it might lie along the lockdowns and how much they're pushing this agenda. However, we do know from the World Economic Forums, you guys can go check it out yourself, that they do want to use COVID to leverage and to further push their agenda in order to reenact the Great Reset, which would bringing about a reset in capitalism and bringing about a global system, a global form of stakeholder capitalism instead of shareholder capitalism. What does this mean for us? Well, if these things go through, it means that the rich will get wealthy, the people who are already in the big corporations will be wealthier, the poor will not, because if you have one person or a couple of rich people controlling the evaluation systems or of people controlling the form of how we run our companies, they would have a way to impose less competition for them. Therefore, they get richer. The small businesses becomes something very hard to bring about. It becomes something hard to do, something hard to get wealthy on. And essentially, they eliminate their competition, making them a lot wealthier and basically controlling, in a sense, the world economy. Therefore, keep your eyes peeled on the Great Reset. Let's see how far it's gaining traction. And make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for the next one.